Welcome Region 3 school counselors. We are here with our second presentation today and glad you are joining us for Girl Talk with Laura Ross. Laura Ross needs no introduction to all of us, but she is a middle school counselor at Five Forks Middle School in Gwinnett County and our national ASGA School Counselor of the Year. And I just got her magazine in the mail, and we are so excited to have her here today presenting to us. So Laura, thank you, and I'm going to turn this over to you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Barbara. I'm excited to be able to still share with you all about our Girl Power initiatives at Five Forks. So I'm going to just go ahead and jump right in and share my screen with you all. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. We have a lot of programs and support for our male students at Five Forks based on our data, but we know just in working with our students and that our girls also need some supports as well, even if it doesn't necessarily show up in the numbers. It definitely shows up in the day-to-day working with our female students. And there are three things that we do to kind of support that girl power at our school. One is a kind of a standalone event, and two are kind of ongoing initiatives throughout the year that we do with our girls. So I want to support our girls in their attitudes and their skills and their knowledge as they are balancing kind of the challenges of the social aspect, the academic aspect, the career and the kind of future goals aspect of where they are. And I'm in a middle school, and so they are thinking about the future. I especially work with 8th graders, and so they're thinking about high school and what comes next, and dealing with that, dealing with the social aspect, which is so hugely important for them. And then the academics and the stress of that. And so really finding different ways that we can support the girls through that. It's also for me about empowering them with some self-awareness, with strength building, knowing and celebrating their strengths and building upon those, empowering them to see their potential, and empowering them to express themselves in their unique ways, and the importance of their uniqueness. And the other thing is really making sure that in our girl power and supporting them, that we are being culturally responsive by providing opportunities for our girls of color, for our LGBTQ identifying female students to see themselves in current role models that represent their future aspirations and goals, as well as opportunities for them to build their self-confidence in who they are. The first one is really all about this quote: stop hating yourself for everything you aren't, start loving yourself for everything that you are. And this really is about our girls finding that confidence in themselves and really improving their body confidence and their self-esteem. And through doing this, I use the Dove Self-Esteem Project. And the Dove Self-Esteem Project is built for and designed for middle school students. For elementary school with 5th graders, sometimes even modified a little bit and used for 4th graders, as well as in high school, 9th, 10th grade. It's been used as well. So hopefully you guys get a copy of the slideshow, or it's posted somewhere. If not, I will post as well, because I have a couple of links in here for you. If not, you can just Google Dove Self-Esteem Project and it will take you right there. Why confidence? So statistics show that, and research shows that it's estimated about 40 to 70% of adolescent girls and boys experience low body confidence. And the Dove Self-Esteem Project is for males and females. I happen to use it mostly with our female students, but they have done a great job in updating the curriculum so there is representation of male students as well. So, sorry, I'm just trying to move this out of our screen. All right, so when our students have low body confidence, we can see that in the classroom as well. We see poor classroom participation and performance. And, you know, when they're not feeling confident in who they are and what they look like, they're less likely to draw attention to themselves by participating in the classroom. We see poor psychological and physical health with our students who have low body confidence. A lot of times if they are, their self-esteem is low because of how they look, they may be taking actions to do things that are not necessarily healthy for themselves and physically. And of course that it cycles back around and impacting them psychologically. We see them opting out of basic like a life activity, going to the doctor, joining a club, or dropping out of sports that they were always involved in, participating in conversations and giving their opinion. So what is the Dove Self-Esteem Project? When you go to the website, you can access the curriculum, and that may be the best. It's amazing curriculum, but bonus best thing about it is it is free for everyone. There's a single lesson and there's a 5-lesson unit. And I have done the single lesson before when I had to and I didn't have time for the 5-lesson unit. My preference is to do the 5-lesson unit because it breaks down each topic separately and really allows for a lot of really rich discussion with the students. So the topics that it covers are first appearance ideals, and you're really discussing with the girls appearance ideals over time and how they've changed. You are discussing what are the appearance ideals now that they see and hear about, whether it has to do with their hair, how they dress, or their body type, and kind of list all of those together. And I think at this point, it's very important that we also take into consideration that the concept of beauty can change from different cultures. And so when we're discussing appearance ideals with them, being very open to what that may look like in different cultures of the girls who are in the group and what they share. One of the biggest things in organizing my groups is I try to make sure, because we are talking about appearance and body confidence, I try to make sure that the girls that are in the group, that nobody is an only. So there are people from the same race or ethnicity, at least one other person, that they have that support. Because when we start talking about appearance ideals, I want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable and supported. And we also talk about, where do those ideals come from? What internally, externally, where those pressures come from about how we're supposed to look. And they're so good at naming everything from parents to dress code to peers to advertisements, just what society kind of tells them. And then we talk about what is the cost of trying to keep up with an appearance ideal, and can we keep up with an appearance ideal? And if we try, what's the cost for us? What's the cost with our time? What's the cost with our money? What's the cost with our emotions? How does that impact us in those 3 areas? The next lesson is on media messages. This may be one of my favorites because it is so very now and so very much a part of their lives. So when we talk about media messages, we talk about professional media and we talk about social media. This resonates with them very much. The messages that they get professionally from advertisements, from commercials, the messages they get on social media as well, and how those messages are, or that media is manipulated, and the messages that gives us. And so there's some great videos to show about how media is manipulated. So what we see is not really what it started with, but we are still looking at the completed product of those posts, those pictures, and using that as a way to measure ourselves. And so we really talk about critically looking at the media that we intake and really filtering that through some questioning about, is this real? What has been changed? What has been manipulated? And it's fairly easy for them to see kind of the professional media and how that is manipulated. But we then have a really great discussion about our own personal social media and how, folks are using filters and Facetune and Photoshop on themselves. And some people have, setups in their home with equipment to have great lighting and things for their social media. There's a really great new video in this lesson that really shows how a so-called personal social media post can be actually professional media. And I think that's a great discussion that we've been having lately. Some of those celebrity influencers that we see on social media, those posts that you see are actually professionally done and not personally something that they have posted. So we have some great discussions about how to really critically think about the messages that we intake. And the next lesson is confronting comparison. So really, when we get these appearance ideals, when we get these media messages, how are we comparing ourselves to them, and what does that do to us when we compare ourselves? What does it cost us in our emotions and how we feel about ourselves? What does it cost us when we try to live up to those comparisons and be like someone else with our time, with our money, and resources? We also talk a lot about how what we compare is usually a bad day or the thing we dislike most about how we look to somebody's good day, or highlighting the best thing, because that's what people are putting out there for everybody to see, especially on social media. They're not putting the bad days necessarily, and so we're comparing ourselves to what we are perceiving to be a perfect world and a perfect day for someone else, when that's not necessarily true. So really looking at this point, what are those unique qualities about yourself? What are the things that you like about yourself, character-wise, ability-wise, and starting to get away from appearance as that number one source of self-esteem. The next lesson is banishing body talk. And so this is one of those lessons that we have to have a lot of discussion about. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge for me as well. I think for all of us, because it's natural for us to always say, oh, I like your hair, or cute shoes, it is. That's our natural go-to as a compliment for someone. And so really trying to get away from all body talk. And how do we do that? Even if it's positive body talk, there's some great videos included with this. And one of them is starts with a compliment of somebody's hair, and it quickly spirals into negative and body talk that is trying to be complimentary, but it's still about what's maybe right or wrong about the way somebody looks. And so what are some other things that we can say? What are some other talk? What are other ways to encourage and compliment somebody that doesn't include appearance at all? So with all four of these lessons, the first ones, it's really great discussion, some amazing videos they've put together that the girls really like to talk about, that really resonate with them. And then there's also some handouts and stuff that you can kind of use as fits with what you're doing. There's some great ones that have some half completed role plays. So it starts it off and it allows them to finish it, to practice some of the new things that they're learning that I found very helpful for the girls. The very last lesson in the 5-lesson unit is Be the Change. And this is sort of a culminating project for them. So we kind of review what we've talked about, and then they decide on a way that they're going to share that with others. And there's several different ideas in the lesson. The ones that girls typically choose is to do some mirror messages. And so they will take Post-it notes and cover the mirrors in the restrooms for the other girls. And on the Post-it notes are just positive statements, encouraging statements, compliments, but nothing has to do with appearance. And we kind of leave a note next to it about them being more than what they look like, and really building on that. So I've had so much fun doing these lessons with my girls. When you download the lessons, there are 3 things. You can download separate ones, or you can download all of the materials at once for each lesson. There is an educator guide that kind of walks you through the whole lesson and helps you figure out how to guide the discussions and the activities. There is the student presentation. It's in PDF form, so it kind of gives some slides so you can go through it that can lead through the lesson. And then there's the student workbook, and that has all the handouts that you can use. And some of those I've actually made posters because we've done a whole group discussion with the handouts. So we just put them on a poster, I laminate them, use kind of a dry erase or something on there for that. And some of them we've done, wanted them to each individually kind of, there's goal setting in each of the lessons. So there's some that I wanted them to set some goals and make some statements about what they were going to try to do differently to help confront comparisons or banish body talk. So those have been useful as well. So where can you implement Dove self-esteem? So when I was a trainer, I've taken a little break from being a Dove self-esteem project trainer, but most of the folks that are in the training cadre are PE and health teachers, because the Dove Self-Esteem Project actually partners with those state health standards, and they that is the case in Georgia. They align perfectly with Georgia health standards, and so you could actually collaborate with your health teacher and kind of co-teach some of the lessons or a single lesson. I know some have done maybe first semester or, well, it depends on how your classes change. So maybe the beginning of the semester, lesson unit, and do a booster lesson at the end, or if they're in there all year, 5 lessons the first semester, and then a booster session of a single lesson in the second semester. But these things about self-esteem, about media messages, and really talking about appearance and how we support each other and show our unique talents, and really looking at our unique strengths that are beyond what we look like, are also standards in the health classes. I've used this in our mentoring program with our girls, our after school mentoring. So I've done a single lesson with them when we didn't have a lot of time. One year we met every week, and so for 5 weeks, that's what we did. Each week we did another lesson in the 5-unit lesson, and we had a lot more time, so we could do than I would with a small group. So we were able to do a lot of interactive things in that, and really kind of explore all of these topics. I mostly use it in small group, and my small groups are lunch groups, and I will say that this curriculum lends itself very well to a lunch group because it's a lot of discussion, watching videos and discussing. There's not a lot of hands-on activities. There can be if you want it to be that, but you can make it so that it works as they're eating lunch as well. And so we still do some of the handouts and write some things, but it's a lot of talking and really listening to each other and watching the videos and seeing how we relate to those. This year, I actually have a high school peer leader that comes and helps me out during this time. So she kind of, the first group that I had, kind of watched and observed and did a little kind of co-leading with me, and now she has taken over the group, and I'm still in the office with her, but she, and I guide when I need to, but she's leading the group now, and it's a great way for her to be that role model, and they of course listen to her as an older peer, as a high schooler. She's way cooler than me, and so they really listen to her and how these resonate with her and relate to her in that way. So what I did this year is I had my 7 grade team that I work with, and I've done this with my 8th graders some too in the past. And I sent home all of those students who kind of had that same lunchtime. I sent home a permission form, and then for anybody who wanted to be a part of the group. And when they came back, I started to form groups. We formed our first group and went through, I actually do 6 sessions. So we do an intro, get to have some fun session, and then we do the 5 sessions and do the culminating project at the end. And then I had the next set of, so I had so many, so then we had a second group. So after that 6 session group was done, then I put together the next group and we started the next group. And that's where my peer leader kind of took over, and she's been teaching those lessons with them. And that's been really awesome to watch and see how she can relate to them in a way about these topics that maybe I can't, and maybe is more impactful for them. It's always powerful to have that cross-age peer leadership and mentoring. So, and that kind of leads me to the second. So harnessing the power of peers. This has been such an amazing and powerful thing for us to foster. So this is really all about the power skills and building their peer relations, their personal growth, their leadership skills, their future goals and aspirations. And the way that we've done that is through Girl Talk. And you can go to mygirltalk.org to learn more about it and how to start a chapter at your school. And this is really for middle school. So it's a program for middle school girls that also involves high school girls. So we had a female mentoring program at Five Forks for years that paired our female faculty members and staff members with our female students who were recommended and referred for needing more support. And that worked great for a very long time, but it kind of fizzled out. And I did notice maybe that some of our girls weren't getting the maximum benefit that they could out of mentoring. So I learned about this program called Girl Talk, and it is where we have our high school leaders, our female high school leaders, come to the middle school, and they're the leaders and the mentors really for our girls. So why is you do research that from Talk that they have found are only 21% of all girls believe they have qualities to be a good leader. Between ages 12 and 13, the percentage of girls who say they are not allowed to fail increases by 150%. Between ages 8 and 4, girls' confidence levels drop by 30%. And I believe that's also in the data that Dove Self-Esteem Project found as well. 1 in 3 girls fear being thought of as bossy by pursuing leadership opportunities. And 30% of girls with a GPA of 4.0 do not believe they are smart enough to pursue their dream career. We definitely have girls at this middle school level age that are starting to feel a little insecure and questioning themselves and not believing in themselves and not thinking of themselves as these strong, smart leaders. And so it's a great way to show them some leaders that are close to their age and help build them up and help give them some skills to continue being leaders. The National Mentoring Resource Center did put out in 2017 a review of research about cross-age peer mentoring. And if you've seen it happen in front of your face, you know how powerful it is. I know the first time I did Girl Talk last year was the first time we did it, and watching our high school girls talk to our middle school girls and say things, and our middle school girls are just hanging on every word and just amazed at what they're saying, and they're totally listening and soaking it in. And I'm sitting over to the side going, I just told you that last week. But it's like new information to them. There is so much power in that cross-age peer mentoring. But it benefits both. So it benefits both the mentees, our middle school girls, but also benefits our high school leaders, the mentors as well, and they're building confidence and leadership skills as well. So strongest effects that they found for mentees were increases in school attitudes and their connectedness and engagement in school, increases in their relationships with their adults, their parents, and their teachers, and in their relationships with peers, and improvements in things such as self-esteem. So these are all the things that we want to improve, have them improve, and empower them with. So that's why this cross-aged peer mentoring through Girl Talk is so great. Girl began with Haley Kilpatrick when she was in high school. So she founded the first chapter of Girl Talk here in Georgia, in Albany, Georgia, to help her younger sister. So Haley had experienced, that challenge of middle school, that roller coaster maze of middle school, and she wanted to be there for her younger sister and her sister's friends as they kind of figured out middle school as well. So she started Girl Talk, where she and some friends would join middle school girls and kind of help them out. There's now over 485 chapters across the world, and it's pretty easy to start. I did this by just contacting the high school counselors. We have started so far the first 2 years using opening up to their female peer leaders and being able to talk to them about the program. A lot of high schoolers want to do it for various reasons. Many of them just love coming and working with the younger kids. A lot of our high schoolers are in different clubs and they need extra volunteer hours. This is a great way for them to get that. There's also, if your group does a service project, which most groups should, we kind of derailed this year and didn't get that done. But if your group is meeting regularly and doing a service project as well, there's a scholarship opportunity for the high school leaders as well. So it has not been difficult to get high school leaders. In fact, this year when I went to recruit, I recruited so many that I was able to talk to our sister middle school in our cluster, and they started one as well. So half of the leaders went over to help start a chapter at the other middle school in our area, which is fantastic. So for our middle school girls in this program, they develop confidence, get lessons on leadership and peer relations, building another network of support for them with other middle school girls. And we have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders all in there. So they're bonding and with our high school leaders as well. And helping them kind of overcome everyday obstacles. They ask a lot of questions about, well, how did you deal with this peer relation issue? How did you deal with the stress of all these classes? And so it's great to get that advice from somebody who just went through it. And they have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. We laugh a lot. And we do lots of different arts and projects and stuff while we discuss. And so it's been a lot of fun to work all together. Our high school leaders also develop confidence, really enhance those leadership skills. This looks great on their college application or job application. And like I said, there's a scholarship opportunity in there for them as well. So when I started Girl Talk last year, we only met once a month. I would meet with the leaders on a different day, and we would kind of plan together. The great thing is once you register your Girl Talk chapter, there is curriculum there for you to use, so nothing has to be made up. There's a great format in the lessons that they have where it starts with an icebreaker. It starts with it, next is a kind of a story that kind of brings in the topic. A leader shares their personal story and how they relate to that. Then there's some sort of activity and then discussion, kind of closing activity. And so it's all kind of can be structured the same. They know what to expect. But at the same time, there is some leeway in there. We've looked through some of the stuff and planned together and like, well, we would rather do this icebreaker that relates. So I let them go for it. They are the leaders. And that's been the best thing is they, I help give them some guidance as we talk about the upcoming 2 meetings. And when I started, we only met once a month, but they all begged, high school leaders and middle school girls, to meet at least twice a month so they could spend more time together. So that tells you right there how amazing and powerful that program is, and that they were getting a lot out of it. And so on both sides. So now we meet twice a month. So I meet with the leaders at the beginning of the month or the end of the last month and plan for the next 2 Um, so they kind of put those together. When we meet, it's all on them. They lead the whole thing. I guide sometimes if it's necessary, but usually it's not. The high school leaders really, they really have it. And, you know, I'm a snack provider and a timekeeper, basically. I always have snacks for them, and then, you know, just trying to keep them on track and make sure we wrap up for pickup when they need it. So this has been a very powerful and just in these 2 years, really seeing how this has impacted our middle school girls and our high school leaders as well. So check out mygirltalk.org to really find out information about how to start a chapter at your middle school. And if anybody has questions about how to recruit in high school, I can kind of let you know what I did there. So the third part of so by Dr. Donna Howard, women have a unique power of being able to look at the world's problems and discover solutions that transform lives and make the world a better place. So this is all taking us into that knowledge, our girl power knowledge. And the thing that I try to highlight in girl power knowledge female students is exploring their current opportunities that they may have, but also really their future opportunities in STEM. And at our school, we do STEAM, so the art is added in there as well. And the big event I started there is we have a STEAM night that is put on, and my peer leaders and I have always done a session about STEAM careers. And had a lot of fun with people kind of exploring some different careers. This year we added a second session called Girl Power, and really focusing on women in STEM careers. The link that is on this slide is to NC-WIT, National Center for Women in Information, National Center for Women and Informational Technology, and their Counselors for Computing section. There's a lot of resources about how to get girls interested in STEM careers or computer science careers, specifically computer science and information technology. So there's tons of resources there specifically for girls. If you look under their resources, there's all kinds of resources that aren't necessarily related to just girls. Some are about students of color, some are about LGBTQ students, some are just in general information. You know, those specifically females, students of color, LGBTQ students are because those are the groups that are lacking in the computer science and informational technology careers out there, and where we need to see more representation. And that really is a lot about what Girl Power for STEAM Night is, really showing them that, giving them some representation and showing what females have already done and what they're capable of doing. So why is this important? I'm going to show this quick video from Microsoft. You may have seen it. I think this kind of explains a little bit of why it's important. If it'll play, we'll see how technology works today.
One inventor in school, it was always a male. It's real. To know that there were women before me, it gives me like motivation that I can invent something and make maybe like a change in the world. That would be really cool.
So I think that's a great answer to the why, right? Our girls aren't seeing themselves represented in, you know, things like being an inventor and in the STEM fields. This next slide shows another huge why. So we have a lot of the STEM fields represented in this graph. If we look at the third one over, computer and information sciences, and we see in the dark turquoise, those represent people who received a bachelor's degree in computer and information sciences. And in that green bar in that graph represents the job growth and jobs available from 2016 to 2026. It's off the charts, 350,000. We know especially in computer and information sciences that there are going to be careers that we don't know about yet, that our students can be a part of. But what we're seeing is that not a lot of folks are going into that field. And so there's going to be jobs open and ready for them. And I think, especially now, we're all kind of working virtually and digitally, we can see that there's all of these opportunities and things out there for folks to be involved in computer sciences. If you look at the turquoise bar and see the breakdown, so the solid part is men graduating with that bachelor's degree, and the kind of the dotted section is women. We see women are very much underrepresented in computer and information sciences. This is why I think it's so important for our girls to really know about STEM fields and to really know about computer and information science, especially since that's where the jobs are now and will be. I think that our girls don't see themselves there because they aren't pushed towards that. They don't see the representation in that, in those fields. And they also don't understand maybe what those fields are. So it's not necessarily just being a computer programmer, although that is a field that is a career in the computer information science field. But you may have heard a phrase or term or will hear CS plus X, so computer science plus X. And X is that variable, that career variable, because the reality is computer science is in all fields. We see computer science involved in education. We see computer science involved in the medical field. We see computer science involved in movies. We see computer science involved in art and music. And so it's computer science plus what is it that you're interested in? So it can be both. You're interested in music, so computer science plus music, computer science plus art. You want to be in the helping services, computer science plus a helping profession, computer science plus medicine, and really getting them to understand where computer science really plays a role in any of their interests. So we have a big STEAM night at our school every fall. And so this year we had a Girl Power session, one of the sessions that people could choose to go to. And basically some of my female peer leaders and I created like a mini museum, I guess, of women in STEM. And we created it by, the girls came up with the idea of having kind of a pathway, a little maze that everybody walks through to get the information. And through that pathway of the desks and walls and lockers, we put up posters. We had found and laminated posters of women in STEM. And then next to it had their name, their occupation, and then just a little blurb about what they did or accomplishment that they achieved. And so in this slideshow, hopefully you guys have it, but I'll put it out there as well. There are posters that were kind of going around for a while on social media of women in STEM careers. And so I just took all of those. They're free. You can download them for free. I downloaded them, printed them out in color, laminated them so that they could be all around our little mini museum. The one link at the bottom is actually from NC WIT, and it's their Technolochicas posters that you can download as well. And it's great. So it shows a lot of Latinas in STEM field and computer science and technology. So I think that was really important representation for our Latina students to see themselves as well. So we put these all around and we made them, we made it a past, present, future kind of walk through. So it started with women of the past. So women who were in STEM that are no longer with us, that did work very early on, and it's amazing to see how women were actually involved in so many things years ago. And then it went into present, so women who are presently working in a STEM field, and we had a large variety of different careers represented, and current women and different ages and different races and ethnicities and different backgrounds. And so that was great. And then we ended with future. So future was actually so they went through the maze of past, present, and they stopped at future, which was a photo booth. So we took all of the STEM careers that we could find from the posters that the women did, added a few more. So we had those all on different little sticks that they could hold up for their picture. We had some other fun little symbols and things that represented STEM and hashtag girl power. So they took different pictures with their own cameras, and we did some too in the photo booth of them to show that they are the future of science, technology, engineering, and math, and that they are capable of doing some of these same things and even more than these women. So our session wasn't as hands-on and interactive as some of the others that had like experiments going on. So we had to have a hook. And so we did a giveaway. So part of the giveaway is what you see on the left-hand side. Top 10 ways families can encourage girls' interest in computing, a resource from Counselors for Computing at NC WIT. The information actually was more than this. It's not just the list of 10. Each one is explained. So there's some more information on that as well. But just really encouraging our girls to help envision their success, sparking their interest early on, building their growth mindset as they are exploring these different new things, exploring technology with her, getting hands-on. So a lot of great information. So they had that, and they also got a save the date for a future, what was to be, but now with changes in going virtual, maybe we'll do a virtual version, but some of our female math and science teachers do a girl power STEAM session in the spring on one Saturday morning. So we gave them the save the date for that event with this information kind of scrolled up and tied up with a scrunchie. My girls were very into VSCO at the time, so I was able to find and order some scrunchies. It didn't cost a lot, and so everything was rolled up with a scrunchie. So that was kind of our hook to get people in, and it worked because of course our boys even wanted scrunchies as well, which I think is kind of great because our boys had to go through the little museum as well and learn some things, and it's great for our boys to see females in the STEM careers as well. But we did have a little caveat that they had to share with us when they were done a very specific fact that they learned about one of the women during their kind of walkthrough of the museum, so that they could earn their scrunchie. So we didn't want it just to be walk through really quick and just get a scrunchie. We wanted them to find something and learn something in there. So that was the first year we've done this. It was very popular. We had some, moms who were in STEM who were so excited showing their boys through all of these things and just loved it. So we'll continue with that and kind of probably build it bigger and better every time and maybe add some videos in there as well to make it a little bit more interactive in our museum. But this is just a standalone event that allows our girls to really see themselves in STEM fields and really get some knowledge as to where they can look now for ways to be involved and certainly for their aspirations for the future. So so for our girl power, that girl talk, Dove self-esteem, and our girl power STEAM night really allows us to address the attitudes, the knowledge, the skills for our girls and really empower them as they are connected to others and then also connected to their school and their education. So thanks you guys for tuning in, and being a part of our Region 3, even though it's a little different. I have on my screen my email. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. So I post a lot about the programs that I do. I have a blog that I post to every once in a while. I have posted about Girl Talk, and I have posted about the Self-Esteem Project on my blog. And I include anything that I create in resources. So if you want to check that out, the connectingcounselor.com, I have other resources for you as well, such as with our Dove Self-Esteem Project, I created a pre and post test. So I've linked that in there for you as well. I also shared with you what mindsets and behaviors from ASCA could be used with that as well if you're doing a small group. So yeah, check that out, because there's a few more resources in there for you too. And as I build the Girl Power STEAM Night, I'll probably include that on the blog as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much for all this wonderful information and for all you're doing to empower your girls. And I know you inspired me today. So thank you for all of this information. We really appreciate you. We know this is a busy time, busy year for you, and for joining us here with the Region 3 mini conference virtually. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And stay safe and healthy, everyone. And, you know, stay, I guess we just have to kind of roll with it and stay calm and figure out the best ways to connect with our students in a virtual world. So
that's right. That's right. We're all learning together. This is great that we're sharing together.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.